Hello, this is Dan the Meek with another Draconis 8 video. This one's going to be a little different than the ones we've done in the past. It's going to be more about the physical game, and it's kind of a PSA to something I've been working on. So you should be able to see it here on the screen. This has been just published to Maker World. This is a place you can go and get 3D models to print if you have a 3D printer or access to someone who does, maybe a local library who can print out for you. Um, this is freely available, so like I said, just released. Anyone can download it to use it. The physical game at the time I'm recording this does not exist yet, so if you're getting it, it would be preemptively at this point, but you could still, if you wanted to have them ready for when we do get our physical ones, or you can wait and later. Who knows, maybe this will be updated by then. But either way, I just wanted to make people aware this is something I've been working on and what the idea behind it is. So basically, if anyone's on the Discord, some people have said since this was first announced that the game feels kind of almost more like a tile placement game than a card game. Not as a derogatory, but more of like it would be kind of fun if these felt like tiles rather than cards, since we're placing them around, pushing them around, rotating around on a board. With that in mind, I decided to try to design a tile that you could put your cards into. Talking to people about this and what people were interested in, the general feedback I got was they were less interested in something where the card would just stay in there forever and you'd shuffle the tiles, and more in something that you could keep your deck separate, use it like a deck, but when you went to play the card, you just quickly and easily place it into a tile and then place the tile on the board where you wanted. So that's what I designed around, something where you can quickly place and remove from a tile that's been printed out your cards, and because you'll be able to print these out in whatever color you want, these can serve the same purpose as the chits that are going to come with the packs of the cards themselves. So the idea of the ownership chits is they let you know who owns what through the color. In this case, you could the time you would have spent doing that, you would be spending put it into the tile instead, because the tile will show you with its color who owns which cards, and because it's pretty large, it'll make it much more obvious on quick glance who owns what. It might be closer to like the digital game. So I kind of go into here what my thought processes were and some considerations for it, but just to kind of go over it while we're on our little video here. The idea here is, first, I made them double-sided, so there is no wrong side up. You can place it whatever way you want, and you're going to be able to drop the card right in and get to playing it. So you don't have to worry about them falling all over the place afterward, realigning everything for play. I want to make it as little impact, as time wasting as possible. Like, you're doing this as easily and quickly, and it doesn't interrupt the flow of the game itself. So I made that a key point for it. I also made sure, as we mentioned before, second point here, that you can see the edges from both top and sides, so that the colors that you choose to print in are going to be very obvious to you whose owns what. So that was a big focal point. Another, as you can see, I added a giant hole in the middle. This is so that the cards don't get stuck in there. So I don't want anybody trying to push it out from the side and damaging their cards. Here you just push it from behind through that hole. Even if you got big hands or fingers, it's a very large hole. You're going to be able to touch it from behind, push the card out, and there's no risk of damaging the card by using the tile, or at least that's the hope. As an aside, an advantage to both the double-sided and that giant hole is this isn't going to cost you too much filament. So if you're the one paying for the filament here, making a whole set of these is relatively cheap. It's not taking up very much PLA or whatever filament type you use. Next, we have the fact there are two indents. It's kind of hard to see in these pictures here, but inside of this thing, there's actually two separate indentations, a smaller middle one or a deeper middle one, and a slightly less deep outer one. They're very close to the same size, but the idea here is the 71 by 71 should be able to easily fit the cards unsleeved without problem. They'll just drop right in there, but not so tightly that we're wearing the sides. We got a little bit of extra space, but it's just easier to drop it in there quickly on the fly. And then also we have that slightly outer one that's big enough at 73 by 73 to fit what we're expecting sleeves to be. So again, we don't know the exact size of sleeves, but when I did research for other games where they were 70 by 70, 72 by 72 was the standard for that. And so I made it 73 by 73 just like before. That gives you a little bit of wiggle room to drop it into. But if they do turn out to be 73 by 73, it will fit as well. We're less worried about the sleeves getting worn on the sides, but either way, it should fit within there nice and snugly if it is a 73 by 73 rather than the 72. So we got space for both. And just for the record, I don't think this particular, my sample one here that I used for my testing was exactly 70 by 70. I think it was a little, maybe like closer to 72 on some sides, and it's still fitting there fine. But it, however you want to use it, that's the idea behind it, so that you don't have to have a different print for each, whether you're using sleeves or not sleeves, whether you're opening a brand new pack or you're using the sleeve pack you've used for everything. This should be able to just be the one stop, the one tool you need for everything. Finally, why is it on its side in the print here? This is because we want these things to be able to be pushed and slid around. So the bed, at least my bed for my 3D printer, is intentionally textured. So that usually the intention is this thing doesn't slide around on your table, whatever you're printing out. It's got a nice texture to grip. We don't want this gripping because we need to rotate it and push it. So I'm putting it on its side, and this allows the sides one of the sides to be grippy, making it nice and easy to grip the tiles, to pick them up and put them back down and such, but means the bottom and the top here, whichever side you're using, are smoother. Again, we're just using an outer edge, so we're not doing a lot of contact with your table, and it's not a sharp edge, at least not the one I test printed so far. And again, you can always sandpaper or whatever you want to do if yours came out sharper. But the idea again is these sides will be smooth enough that you can move them around easily on a table, rotate them around, but at the same time you can grab them with the grippy part. Another side benefit of putting it sideways like this is you can easily fit a whole bunch on a single plate, even if you got a smaller plate. So I have a standard Bamboo Lab A1, but if you got like the Mini or some other person's 3D printer, some other manufacturer that's smaller than that, this theoretically you should still be able to get quite a few of these on there. My recommendation is do one test for your territory in one color, then do a set of 8, assuming that first one came out well, for one of your decks, and then a second set of 8 for another deck. So if you're playing with 2 people, you can each have a different color set for all your cards, and then the territory, whoever's territory gets selected, goes into the unique colored territory one in the middle, maybe black, whatever you decide is your territory color. That part doesn't matter so much. It could even be the same color if you really want to do a set of 9. But either way, that's the idea that I had from it. So in this print, we got one here, but then you can just copy a bunch out and do your sets for everybody. It's not taking up too much PLA, and you can have that second set so that you can share it with your opponent, or if you're just playing casually with a friend, both sides can have access to them. So it's tiles against tiles. Although there's nothing that prevents this from working with the if you were against someone just using cards. Last thing of note, at this time, we don't know the precise size of the official playmats, so I don't know how the tile will impact that. That said, because we don't know that, I tried to keep this pretty slim. You can kind of tell here from the sizing and stuff of everything I picked that this shouldn't be that much thicker than a sleeve. So assuming that they designed it to fit easily the sleeved versions of the cards, then I think the tiles should be fine on the official mats. If they designed it with the unsleeved versions in mind, maybe it'll be a little tricky. We'll see just how tight things are. But again, since we don't know what that is, we can only speculate. But I did try to make the assumption that there's not going to be a ton of space, so I tried to not over widen this tile here. I have some ideas if it turns out it's larger, of some cool stuff I could do with the edges if we are able to make them larger. And you can also just do it on, just not using the play mat or whatever, just to have the tiles if you're playing on a table. So I may release some other versions if I design them with other features, like where you could put slots for your tokens on the ends and stuff like that. But again, we'll see where that goes. But either way, again, this was just making you aware of what I've put out there. If you think it's cool and useful to you, give it a print. And if you have any questions, comments, things you'd like to see, again, I have lots of ideas that may already be on the docket. But if you have things you'd like to see in it, or things you see as a flaw in my current design, please let me know in the comments. We still have plenty of time for the physical version releases, so happy to use this opportunity to continue to improve this design so it's as awesome as it can be once the game's actually in our hands. But all the more reason to make people aware so I can get as many eyes on it as possible and as many thoughts as possible. Again, there's comments on the Maker World, but please also feel free to comment on this YouTube video. Thanks for your time. Again, this was Dan the Meek with another Draconis 8 video.